Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. For those of you who are listening in live, thank you for joining me. I love that. There are so many different outlets that you can get this show on live from. And it's like, I don't know, it's like the numbers keep changing every 5 minutes because that's just the way we rock and roll on Inspired Choices Network. Is we're constantly growing and constantly expanding and getting onto new platforms, and you can find us literally everywhere. So I'm grateful wherever you're listening to us from, that you are listening and that you're joining us tonight, especially for my show, The Pleasure Zone. My name is Milica Jelenic, and we are talking tonight about dear aging penises. So I wrote a little letter to the dear aging penises out there, and it felt like it needed to be a letter, like a love letter to the aging penises, as it seems that when I tapped into the energy of the show, it wasn't like my usual post for the show. It was very much like a love letter to the dear aging penises of the world, just so they know that there is hope out there for you guys. There are options, there are choices that can have you be strong and long for a good long time. It's actually inspired because a friend of mine who's also the owner of Inspired Choices Network sent me a video, which was funny, but then, you know, I get clinical on things sometimes, and it was a video by a doctor. I think it's called the Penis Doctor. Anyways, he on his little video on, I think it was TikTok, was saying that yes, indeed, penises, as you age, they shrink. And I was like, yes, and there's validity in what he's saying. It's actually something that is medically accurate, anatomically accurate, and that is one way of being with it. If you do nothing for your penis ever, your penis will age and it will shrink. However, there is prevention. So this is more for the aging penis. Now, when does your penis start to age? Around 20. So I bet you didn't think about that when you picked up on this show and you're like, aging penises, that's 70. Your penis, my friends, well, it actually ages your whole life, just like the rest of you. But the angle of the dangle starts to change at around the age of 20. What is the angle of the dangle? It's actually the angle of the erection, right? So if your erection when you're 20 can be like way up there at what would be like an 80-degree angle to your body, and then as you age, it goes down and it's more like 90 I don't know. If I measure it from the body, I'm just thinking angles to the parallel of the ground if you're standing. Anyways, my angles are different in my mind. So it might be like a 90-degree angle or more, or anyway, it changes. The angle of the dangle definitely changes. And I'm getting too many visual aids in my head right now of options of the way a person standing or lying down could, change the degree of the angle. Anyhow, what we want to look at is how to have your penis be strong and healthy for your life. And, we can talk about things. I'm talking to the penises because the penises will probably listen to me, even though the people who have the penises might not. The penises might guide you. So I'm hoping that the penises will be like a homing beacon or a pendulum that will guide you and take you through this path to assist you to create a greater, more fulfilled erection for your life. So we're looking at some obvious things. We're looking at lifestyle choices, which we've talk about a lot on this show. I do like to talk about lifestyle choices, which have to do with, what are you putting into your body that might actually affect the way that your body operates in general? And what are you putting into your, what are you putting into your body? What are you doing externally to your body? And all these other different things. We have internal influences and we have external influences, right? So we have all of those have an impact on our health. So we can have internal things that are going on, like maybe the terrain of our bodies are not healthy. So then it's a matter of looking at the health of the body in general. One of the things about the angle of the dangle is that it can be an indicator of heart health. So we don't want to ignore that. We don't want to be like, I'm going to just push forward and make sure my penis is functioning 100%. Although if you have a lot of these things in place and you're looking at your lifestyle, you're looking at your health, you're looking after your internal terrain, you're looking after all the external influences that might be affecting you, then a lot of your life will actually have more of, it would gear towards having a greater vital force, which is where in, say, for example, Chinese medicine, or they talk about qi, and in homeopathy, we talk about vital force as like it's like the energy you have in your body. And certain things influence the energy of your body and will deteriorate your vital force. So we want to make sure that your vital force is ramped up so that your body will have the highest possible functions. And that includes you penises. We want you to be highly functional as well. So we're going to start, if we're ideal, we're going to start in utero. But the chances are you're probably, about 20-ish when you're actually listening to this show. I don't expect that many teenagers to actually listen to this show. Though if you are, fantastic, write to me. I would love to have conversations with somebody who's like 16 or 18 years old about what's going on for them in the world these days, in terms of like how they're dealing with relationships and things like that. So that's a side note. But to the penises, let's look at what kinds of things you actually require for a happy, healthy internal environment to have your body functioning well. Well, one of the main things is you need to have a happy, healthy heart, because it is part of what is used for blood flow through your whole body. It pumps the blood through your whole body. And so let's simplify this. If you have something that requires blood being pumped to it, then that pump itself needs to function well, right? Just like if you have a swimming pool and you need the pump in it to aerate the water and circulate and clean the water, if your pump is faulty, then your water is going to have all kinds of murky and crap in it. So just like your body, you want your pump of your heart to function healthy so that all the circulation is really healthy. And that circulation includes circulation into the penis for having an erection. So one thing I highly, highly recommend is if you are somebody who's had anything that is a heart condition, that your very first task at hand would be to pay attention to your heart health. That's primary, and get your heart to be functioning really well and have that vital force increase, and then be able to include a better, more, have your, dear penis actually be able to function better, stronger and longer. So what are some things that affect our vital force? That might be something that I'll mention right now. So our vital force is affected by a lot of things. It's affected by things like stress that we can't manage. So it's not stress itself, it's stress that we don't have tools to manage, right? Stress itself is not a problem. It's the way we deal with it that's a problem, or don't deal with it if we don't know how to deal with it. One of the other things that goes on is that we need to be able to also deal with certain things like toxins that are coming at our body. So we're exposed to toxins on, like, constantly. We're being bombarded by toxicity. So I'm not going to go into the doom and gloom of it, but we have it environmentally through our air. We have it environmentally through water. We have it environmentally through exposure to different things constantly that in our either home environments or outside. Or it's not, toxicity is something that we are right now on the planet saturated in, whether we know it or not. It's in our foods. You can even find a lot of foods with high levels of toxicity in it. And yes, General Mills may hate me for this, but if you actually look at their cereals, they have high levels of ridiculous toxins in them, like TSP, which is trisodium phosphate, which is actually a paint thinner, but it's in our cereals that we think are healthy for us. So these are things that we look for. You know, when people come to me for their health, and a lot of times they are coming and they're talking about having different issues going on in their relationships, because guess what? Those go together. A lot of times what'll come up kind of secretly is that there's, you know, issues in the relationship. They might have had like not so much sexual contact with their partner for a while. And when it breaks down to it, sometimes I'm like getting people to even look at, you know, all of the ingredients in their food to really get like what is going on. All of these things we're putting into our bodies are affecting the vital force. So this toxicity, all these things like these toxicities that we're putting in affect the vital force. They don't necessarily kill you right away, but they affect your vital force in a way that it takes more energy for you to have them in your body than it does for you not to have them in your body. Say if you ate something that doesn't have trisodium phosphate in it, compared to something that does have trisodium phosphate in it, it's going to be easier for your body and easier on your vital force to not have that toxicity in your body. So when you look at labels, if you don't know what the F something means, then either research it to find out, because, you know, a lot of people are like, I read labels, and I'm like, that's great. Do you eat Cheerios? It's one of my first questions, because I think it's funny because a lot of people actually do eat Cheerios and they don't really think about the fact that, well, it says trisodium phosphate. I'm like, do you know what that is? That's a paint thinner. And there's a legally allowed amount to put in our food. But if you call poison control, guess what they're going to tell you? Do not put trisodium phosphate into your body. It's toxic, right? So it is insane. And these are things that get passed by our FDA and our Food Administration. Because why? Because they're actually not looking at this stuff as toxic, because they don't actually care about our health. That's a whole other side note. So many things have toxicity in them, and we need to look at this, because we are, in the last 100 years, we have added so many toxins to our body that it's crazy. So what we want to do, if you think about like 150 years ago to 200 years ago, people actually were taking poisons as medicine. Like they were taking arsenic for medicine. We can still take arsenic as a arsenicum, as a homeopathic, and it's in a very diluted form. So it's not poison in that form. It's also an energetic form of medicine, which is different. So it's completely a different dose. But we did a long time ago do a lot of things that were toxic to our body. We stuck lead on our faces for a really long time. In Elizabethan times, we were sticking lead paint on our faces, and even prior to that and even after that. And it just destroyed skin, but we didn't think about it because it was all about beauty or whatever. So throughout history, we have had like violent toxicity that has come into our bodies. But what we have more now than ever is we have it in our foods, that we didn't have it in our foods before. We have it environmentally in ways that we didn't have it before either. So we have it way more than we've ever had it historically, and our bodies are showing it. So our vital force is key. And having a strong vital force will also allow you to have strong erections. It has to do with your health. So yes, this sounds like a bit of a lecture, and I'm sure you guys are going to appreciate this and go, la, 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 Brig, here she goes on one of her rants about toxins. But for some of you, you might not have heard my rants on toxins. So congratulations, welcome to that. I mention this because I hear people say all the time, well, I eat healthy. I'm like, but do you? Because you think you are, but there are things, and there are things that you might have food sensitivities to that you think, well, I'm eating fruit and, and I'm eating organic fruit. And I'm like, that's great, unless you have a food sensitivity to fruit. And in that case, it's actually taking away your vital force. There are ways to find that out. You can do different things like blood tests for that. You can call me for that. You can find out what's going on so that you know what your food sensitivities are, and then eat accordingly. And when you do start to eat according to your food sensitivities, your body has a far greater chance at healing. I've seen it repeatedly. It's not a difficult thing to do. It is a lifestyle change. And part of this, dear penises, is that you may need a lifestyle change. So we talked about some really off the wall toxins like, TSP and cereal, but things like coffees are, coffee and alcohol in large quantities is also considered highly toxic and something that takes away from your vital force. Even though we have like a feeling at first, it's like gives you a boost, it also energetically can be a huge influence on the vital force. So there are things that we don't even think about that will affect your vital force, that maybe now is the time to start thinking about it if you'd like to have that long and strong, everlasting, till you're 95 kind of erection. So we will be talking about all of this. And dear penis, if you can handle this talk, I am so proud of you. And I'd love for you to come back after this break when we're going to talk more about things so that you can have the best, longest life possible. So join me after this break. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So one of the conversations we're having is about the internal terrain of our bodies and how that actually affects things like erections. So to the dear sweet aging penises out there, there is a lot of judgment that comes at you all the time. There are judgments that are like, yeah, when you get old, this is going to happen. So before we go too much further into more on like what else we can do, I'd like you to just sit and think about your own mind. So I'd like you to think about the mind that is telling you, sweet penis, how you're supposed to be. Whether that's the mind of the person that whose body you're on, or whether that's the mind of the lover who you get to play with or don't get to play with, I'd like you to just be with the energy and just check, like, how have you been judged? How many times have you been judged? Have you been judged for being too small? Have you been judged for being not hard enough? Have you been judged for not, working exactly the way that everybody thought you should work? at the time that they thought you should work. For men, well, for people with penises, it is far more evident about having or feeling like you're turned on, or so we think, than it is for women, right? So for men, we think that a man is turned on when he has an erection. But I can tell you from talking to many, many men that a lot of them who cannot have erections due to different circumstances, there may have been surgeries, Peyronie's disease, different things that would affect their erection due to circumstances that are like scar tissue, so, or even like a prostate removal. So there are different reasons why physiologically there may have been a rip or a tear or something that goes on that would actually prevent the erectile tissue from functioning properly. So if we're looking at a penis that's generally healthy and has just been aging, and the angle of that angle has changed, but there hasn't been any prostate removal, there hasn't been anything like Peyronie's disease where maybe maybe the penis has had some kind of surgery to try and repair the scar tissue. So if that hasn't occurred, and we're looking at an average penis that hasn't had any scarring, then the chances are we have a chance for recovery. And the chances are that sometimes it has to do with the judgment of the own person's mind that is judging, you penis is like, you're not good enough. You're not big enough. You're not hard enough. You're not doing your job. So let's just think about this. That mind isn't being very kind to you, right? So we can, and I think what you've been trying to do, and I'm just guessing, penis, I'm guessing what you're trying to do is that you've been trying to send a message to that brain of that person to stop being so mean, right? And I think that's really part of the message. And part of the message is, would you stop judging me? Would you stop telling me that I'm not good enough, I'm not long enough, I'm not strong enough? But that mind of that person that you're part of does not know how to do that. They don't know how to stop judging you. And that mind has also separated you from them and them from you. And they don't realize that that mind has an amazing impact on how well you function as well. So as much as we talk about heart health, having a functioning neurological system, which includes your brain, also very important. You need your nerves to function well. If there's been damage, somewhere in the lower spine, sometimes you can't get an erection either. Sometimes you can. It just depends on how any of the damage occurred. So how do we know if you can work again, right? And I've had that question before, like, well, I don't know, like I'm not getting the best erection these days. And so I do like to explain and kind of give a demo of some exercises that can be done, which I will be doing a demo after the next commercial break. I'll be doing it on a demonstration penis. Just if you want to see it visually, you can go watch it via video. And I will try and give a best description as possible while I'm doing it, so that you can have a little tool in your toolbox you can take away, and hopefully your person will do this for you. So hoping, penis, is that you're up for the exercises, you're up for the challenge, you're up for the change, you're up for getting to have a new experience and not be judged. So just gather that feeling of like, what would it be like if I wasn't judged? What would it be like if my lover didn't judge me? If the vagina I was going into was like so happy to have me in there, or the anus or the mouth or the armpit or the wherever it happens to be going? What if I wasn't judged for how strong I was when I entered, or how intense I was when I entered, or any of that? And I know that as much as it seems strange that somehow your lover could have that impact on you, your lover really does. Whether you are fully cognitively aware of that or not, there's an underlying current that can occur that is called judgment, that is ugly, and it creates a lot of problems. So I'd like you to just be with that thought of what would it be like if you didn't judge, if you were not judged by the person who's, you're on a body, that body has you, sweet penis, and it has a brain as well. And that brain is creating thoughts that are creating judgment that are actually affecting the whole body, including you. So if we could get that brain of that person to stop that nonsense, wouldn't that be amazing? Right. So maybe for a minute, I'm going to talk to that brain. So brains of those bodies, of the penises that would like to have better, longer erections. So to the brains, just knock it off. You know what? If you did this to anybody else, I, being who I am, would probably step in and go, stop effing insulting my friend. Stop effing hurting the people and the things that I love. I would step in. I've done that since I was a kid, and I'll probably do it till I die. I'm not good with bullying. And if you're going to bully your penis, you're an ass. And that's unkind. And I'd try and I'll set you straight and knock it off. And then stop for a minute and think, if you treated another human being like that, full body, a child, for example, how traumatized would they be if you told them they weren't good enough, not long enough, not strong enough? Hey, you're not tall enough. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. How much do you squash them into pretty much total obliteration and non-existence, to the point where they kind of disappear out of reality? So that is cruel. We're looking for kindness. And so everywhere that you have been doing that, the tool on this is knock it off. That's the tool. Knock it off. It's that simple. Notice when you're doing it. Notice when you're judging it. And then stop. That's it. I know, it seems like a pretty sophisticated tool. It is. It's actually one of the maybe more bigger challenges that I put out to people is notice your thought that's toxic, because this is still toxic. It's a thought. It's not that different really than sticking the TSP that I mentioned into your body. It's not that different. It's still toxic. Stop it. Stop the toxicity. Stop the toxic thinking. Stop the toxic other things that you're doing. And now that's it. That's pretty simple, right? Stop it. So if you really have it where it's locked into your mind and your body, and you need to have maybe some coaching on that, I'd love to do that for you. And there are times where stopping it is really tricky and you might need some coaching on it, and I'd be happy to contribute to that. So you can find me on my website through milicajelenic.com. That's milicajelenic.com. And we can set up a sort of a brief coaching just to see if we're a fit. And then if we are, then we can go from there and see what can be created so that you can stop judging that mind. Hello, mind. So you can stop judging that penis so that I can get back to the conversation with your penis so that it can start functioning and be happy again. And I know it's possible. I have actually had feedback from many people that this works and it works for them. So we're going to look after toxic thinking, toxins of other kinds being put in the body. And then we're actually going to do some physical things, external, for the body that can assist as well. There are many different external things that we're going to be looking at. So this may be highly visual. So I just want to fair warn if there are parents watching this with their kids. This next segment that I'm going to be doing, I will be bringing in a demo toy so that you can actually see the exercises that I'm going to be talking about. So I just want to put that warning out now so that you're not alarmed when you see that. And also for appropriate ages, this next segment is truly for 18 plus. So keep that in mind. And I am thrilled that I get to be coming back and showing you some really great ways to keep the strength and length of the penis going, and various different, I'm going to show you two main variations of exercises that can be done. And hopefully I'll be able to give an auditory explanation that's going to be just as great for all the listeners who are listening just via audio. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to The Pleasure Zone, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight, I'm talking to the dear, sweet, aging penises out there who may be looking for a little different reality than what we've been told medically, what we've been told physiologically, that aging penises shrink. They will if you don't do prevention. And prevention involves a lot of things like lifestyle, which we talked about earlier. You've got to take care of the internal environment and the external environment. We got to make sure that the vital force of your body is optimal. And we're going to do that by many different things. So if you haven't, if you're just tuning in, listen to the first part where we do talk about, lifestyle choices around food. There's no specific diet that will work for everybody. It's good to know what your food sensitivities are, so that your body and your life force your vital force is as optimal as it can be. It's also really helpful to be working with all kinds of different things so that your internal terrain is happy and healthy, so that your heart health is happy and healthy, so that your mind and your neurological system is happy and healthy. And there's so much more. We could talk about anatomy all day because I love to. However, I'm going to talk directly back to the penises, because those of you who were not able to, before the break, just stop the thoughts of all the judgments you have about your penis, you're just going to give me a call anyway, and we'll talk about those issues in person on a call. And for those of you who were able to get out of that thinking just by going, knock it off, stop it. And you might have to say that a few times, but if you were able to get out of that by just saying like, knock it off, that's enough. Cool. We're going to move on. We're going to actually do, I'm going to do a demonstration for you. So what you would do if, you know, for your sweet penis, what you're going to do is you're going to have it in a way that you're going to be able to hold. So I hope this angle looks okay on screen. So you're going to hold around where your testicles are. You can just hold that kind of in place. You can hold it at the top and just kind of hold firm so that you can have a bit of a pull action. So you're going to go in different directions so that you're going to work all the erectile tissue. You're going to pull down and you're going to hold for 10 seconds. And then you're going to pull, and we're just going to speed this up. And then you go up and then you hold for 10 seconds. And then you're going to go to the side and hold for 10 seconds and go to the other side and hold for 10 seconds. And in the different angles, you know, it's like northeast, southwest. Well, we're doing the northeast, southwest with your penis, and you're holding for 10 seconds in all of those compass directions, north, south. You can start with south and go north if you want. It's up to you. South, north, and then you're going to go across east, west, and then, you know, northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, right? So you can do that and hold. It only takes about 10 to 20 seconds in each direction every day to get the flexibility to keep the erectile tissue strong. And there are other ways you can also keep erectile tissue strong, which again, I'm going to try and give an explanation while showing a demo on here. So what you do is, depending on how your erectile tissue is working, how well it's working, you're going to try to have a bit of an erection for this one, as much as you possibly can. And then you're going to start with something light, like a tissue. So right now, what I have on me is a scarf, and so I'm going to use that. And you can use, a scarf is quite heavy though, so you want to use a tissue at first. Maybe I have something that's more tissue-like, like a paper. Okay, well, I don't have anything quite like a tissue on me, but we'll just imagine there's a tissue. So if your erection is a little bit lower and you have a tissue on it, then what you're going to want to do is squeeze your pubococcygeal muscle, which is the muscle that you use for when you want to stop the pee coming out, right? So if you know how to stop the pee coming out and you can do that, you've got a good chance at restoring your erectile tissue. So you're going to squeeze that, and what it will do is kind of lift, and it's like a weight lifting. So by putting a Kleenex over top of your penis while you do that, it's a bit of a weightlifting. So you can start with a Kleenex, and then you can move on to like a face cloth. So it might be down here because it's a little more weight. And then your aim is to lift it, squeezing your pubococcygeal muscles. And you can get to the point where it's super strong, and you can even use things like a beach towel and put that on and lift as well. So what you're doing is strengthening. The other ones that I was showing you with the stretching, the northeast, southwest, and the hold. So you want to give a little tug when you, like a little bit of a pull when you do that, and hold so it's like comfortable. That's more of the lengthening. And then you want to do the strengthening. So you want to actually do both. They're really key, simple exercises, so that mostly so that you can, you know, use these from like the time you're 20 all the way through your life. And in like 5 to 10 minutes a day, this can actually save your erections. Not only doing that, it can also help with things like in future so that you don't have, you know, dribble problems. So if you're already used to doing squeezing your pubococcygeal muscle and doing some Kegel exercises, for men, when they do the Kegel exercises, they can actually, for any penises, sorry, for all penises, when you have a pubococcygeal squeeze, then the erection, or even if you're not erect, the penis will flex a little bit. And you want that flexing action because that's actually going to be what helps to create the strengths in there. So these are some pretty simple and key exercises that are used. And generally just doing things that will allow your body to feel like it's having like, so that your blood flow is going. So doing anything that would actually increase things like even your cardio, even like 10 or 20 minutes of cardio, even a couple times a week, can have your blood flow going better so that all circulation is working better. These kind of go together, right? So we want to make sure that you're working your whole system so that, you know, when you are doing that, then when something goes off in your body, it's a lot easier to distinguish what the real problem is, right? So if you're generally having quite a healthy lifestyle, you're doing things, you're getting, you know, enough oxygen in your body, you're getting enough nutrients in your body and minerals, and you have all of these things that are like key and you have enough water in your body, that's also a pretty key factor for heart health as well. So if you have all of this going on and something goes off in your body, like all of a sudden you don't have an erection and you're like, well, okay, my heart is healthy. Like you know, sometimes people will even come to me and they're like, well, I've gone to the doctor. They say my heart's fine. I'm not on any medication. I haven't had any different things going on. Like I have never had surgeries and I don't have this. And we kind of do process of elimination. And it, you know, what it usually comes down to is judgment or lack of use. So maybe you've just avoided your penis for a while. There might be everything else going on, but there's been like a lack of connection to your sexual energy. And all of that is part of your vital force. Like your sexual energy is part of that too. Even one of the teachers of homeopathy 200 years ago said that your life and your relationships, but also your sex life is a huge part of your vital force energy. And I love that was included even 200 years ago or over 200 years ago. So it's a beautiful thing. So we really want to be clear with your health so that you can distinguish like where did this start from? How did this occur? Now, with other things that have, for example, say there is scar tissue. Well, there are things that can be used to work on scar tissue, but that's not something that I generally share on this show because it is something that is very, it's individualized per person on how to deal with it. Some of the things are remedy related, like homeopathic remedies. Some of them are more energetic based, and some of them are actually like a physical rubbing of the area. This also occurs for women who have had perineum rips after childbirth. To rub the scar tissue out to get the nodules of the scar tissue out is really helpful. One of the things that I've heard time and again from men who have had prostates removed is that they were never told about these exercises most of the time. A lot of doctors are not telling them to do pubococcygeal squeezes prior to strengthen or post to strengthen. And they're also not saying to, you know, to rub the actual area that has had the scar tissue. So where the prostate was removed, there's going to be some scar tissue in there. And sometimes just going in, putting a little lube on your finger and going in, you know, you can use a glove, you can do it to yourself, although it's usually easier if you have a lover do it for you. And be very kind and be very gentle with this. You can start to alleviate some of the scar tissue that is in where the prostate was. So that can assist too. I mean, there are times though where things have just literally been cut and that there's going to be there's no hope. But you can kind of tell if there's hope because you can see whether there is even remotely the beginnings of an erection occurring. And then sometimes it's just a matter of getting it back in shape. It's just kind of like if you did have a heart condition and you were in hospital for a while and then they tell you that you've got to go walk a certain amount every day. I say that as an example because my grandmother had a heart operation when I was little, and she was always told she had to get back and get out and walk, right? Something gets operated on, you got to start working it again and you got to start having it function well. So everybody's got different methods for it, but you really want to get you want to be able to get back on track and start utilizing it and start working with everything again. So we've talked a bit about the internal environment from looking at it from a health perspective, a little bit, like really just scrape the edge of that, a little bit of the physical environment as well, where you can actually do the movements for the movements that I was showing you, the northeast, southwest, all the directions of holding around the base of your penis, or even holding around the testicles and kind of just holding that up into your pubic bone area, so that you can just have it in place while you move with your other hand, while you move your penis in the 8 different directions and hold. And then the exercise of flexing for you can flex, you'll probably find that you can flex for, but try 5 seconds zone.
Are
Hey,
you
everyone.
secretly a
So-
voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So just before break, I mentioned a little bit about that we're going to be talking about some things like the spiritual side of it. And so the spiritual side of it, what is that, right? So we talked about the internal terrain, the external terrain, the different simple sort of manipulations of the penis you can do and your pubococcygeal muscle. And we talked about looking at things about the toxicity in the body and all these different aspects that are not usually things that we talk about a lot when it comes to erections. It's usually like, I have one or I don't. But there's so many factors that affect it, including judgments, right? And that's part of that spiritual aspect as well, but that's the mind as well. So the spiritual aspect is maybe, just maybe, you are experiencing something, dear penis, where you would actually like to have a deeper connection to your lover. So maybe you've spent a good chunk of your life just getting it on with here, there, and anywhere, anybody's. And maybe now's the time to have it be a little different and have a deeper, more sincere connection with a person. And quite possibly, too, what sometimes occurs too is that you've been so used to having sex with people you didn't care for, that now that maybe you really care for somebody, you don't really know how to have sex with them without judging them or without being judged. So that can be a really interesting circumstance to be in, because maybe for you, part of the sex is to look at it from, and maybe start to get into some of the healing. There may be some trauma under that where, you know, for you, you've always had to have sex with people you didn't like, or maybe there's even beyond that. There might have been, you may have had some sexual abuse in your life, or there's been some kind of other traumas that have led to you feeling like the only person that you can have sex with is somebody that you don't like or don't love. So getting to that spiritual part of it is also very important, so that you understand what's going on with that aspect of maybe why things aren't functioning to their best. So what I want to tell you is that even as you get older, is that you can still deal with this stuff, even if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It doesn't matter. If you're alive and the body that you're on, dear penis, is alive, this stuff can be healed. It's just a choice. Now, I encourage you to be like a homing beacon and direct your person to connect with me so that we can talk this stuff through. We can look at the lifestyle. We can look at, you know, the different aspects of this, and have, you know, a very concise program so that you can get back on track and get functioning. Because I know you want to. I know you actually know that you are built for pleasure, and you are built for your own enjoyment, and you're built for the enjoyment of others. And without that, you might not feel like you're doing your job in the world. And I get that. And there are other ways to do your job if truly there is no way of getting you back on track, because maybe there was an accident or something occurred where it's truly, truly like that is not part of your life anymore. Then it's to learn other ways that, you know, you can be involved, dear penis, the way that you can still be involved in being a lover without having to penetrate. Some people look at alternatives with looking at things like using, I can't remember what they're called, but there are these kind of sleeves that are a little bit harder, and they're kind of like a prosthetic penis. I think, for lack of a better name, I'll just call them like a prosthetic penis. They're kind of like a strap-on, and then so that you can still get the hip action in there, you can still penetrate your lover, and your penis will be inside of the sort of harder casing to work with. So those are other ways to work it. And I get that might not be your favorite or best way. So there are other things to explore as well. And it really comes down to being willing to explore and not give up. You're still on a body that's alive, so don't give up. You got hope. We can still work with this. Hopefully the person that's listening to this, and you penis, while you're listening to this, you're getting kind of excited and thrilled about the idea that maybe your person will like come to me and actually talk about these things and look at some options. So I hope that that's the case for you. And I hope that in so many ways that you'll try some of these things out that I've mentioned. You'll do some of the exercises. You'll look at some of the terrain things going on in your body, and you'll look at some of the beliefs that you've been carrying as well. And if there have been traumas, physical or emotional, sexual, like any of these kinds of traumas that might have occurred, and you'd like to be able to move past them, please connect with me. That's one of my favorite things to do, is work with people through traumas. And so many times we don't even realize what those traumas are, or why they're occurring, or where they, you know, how are they still with us after all these years? And they often stay around forever until you find a way to release them out of your body and have different ways to manage them. So one of the things that I want to leave you with is that what I'd like you to do is just have a good look at yourself in the mirror. And have a look, have a see, have an admiration moment, and enjoy what you are right now. Enjoy what you're being right now, penis, just like whatever that is, whatever your angle of the dangle is, be at peace with it. And in this moment, know too that it's very possible to have something even greater. It's even greater erections, even greater, so many things going on. I'm really looking forward to next week when we talk about concubines. And that's going to be fun. And
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.